Hey everybody, this is an update to my YouTube video, RCMP arrest man for not being able to produce ID. And so the update is this. I got a phone call today from an RCMP officer who identified himself as a peace officer and called me by my lawful name, and then he informed me that my PTA was cancelled. So the charges have been dropped, and my pending court appearance is no longer there. PTA means promise to appear. So I wasn't going to appear anyways. And the reason why I wasn't going to appear is this. So a lot of people think that I was insane for challenging them, but those who know anything about law know that that I had grounds. So the first issue here is that here's the promise to appear, and you'll notice on the bottom here, right where are we? Right here, and it says under duress, all rights reserved. And when they made me sign it, they didn't grab my hand and make me sign it that way, but they said I wasn't going to have my freedom unless I signed it. I told them I can't sign it. There's a lot of mistakes on here. The most important one being the name that they used on there, and I explained this in detail to those guys. So really what I did is I implicated them into the fraud, and what I did is I explained that this was a fraud. I explained what the fraud was, and then I asked them to investigate it, and they refused to do that, and yet they continued to commit that fraud against me. So I don't think that they want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. The cops are doing one thing, but the legal department looks at it and says, nah, we're not touching that. So I want to spend some time and explain to you what this name thing is, because I know a lot of people don't understand that yet. And it's not something that's frivolous. This is for real, and it is a fraud, and you need to know about it. When your parents named you, they told you, or they filled out a certificate of live birth, and your name was properly recorded there. You were John Adam of the Doe family. And what the state did is they took that name and they combined all of them together. So they took your John, which is your name, and they called it your first name, and then they took Adam, which is a middle name. But you could say your name really is John Adam and hyphenate it. But then they combined that with the last name. Well, I don't have a last name. That persona that they created, persona means it's in Greek it's a fictional character. It's fictional. It's not a real man or woman. So that persona is not me. So they created a persona with a trust, and they created that for your benefit, ostensibly for your benefit. So what they did is they created a trust there, and on the birth certificate, which is evidence of that trust, and the change of name, so they named the trust. They're not naming you, because on that birth certificate, usually on the tearaway portion, it says right on it, not to be used as identification. And what do? We all used it as identification, and we used it to get whatever it is we wanted, social insurance number, driver's license, who knows what. So you basically screwed yourself by using it as identification when they told you not to. So the way that is supposed to work is that you're supposed to use that account for your benefit, and you're not supposed to use it as identification. So, but because you use it as identification, you forfeit the benefit. And I'm going to introduce a word to you that's probably not that familiar to you, but it is usufruct. Usufruct is the legal definition of usufruct is the right to use someone else's property for your benefit. So you were using it in usufructuary. You are the co-beneficiary to that account. You are not to use it as identification. So now that we all did, what we have to do is send them a notice of mistake. And everybody that you're dealing with, send them a notice of mistake. You know, if some agency thinks that they've got something on you, well, notify them of their, notice them of the mistake. And the mistake is that you use the name as identification and apologize for it. I'm sorry I used that name as identification. It wasn't given to me as identification or for identification, and I used it in error, and I apologize, and I want to make that correction. I want you to correct your records. So once you start doing that, they can no longer identify you by that account. It's an account. It's not an identification. It's identification of a trust, of an account, but it's not your identification, right? Which is what that whole issue was when I was arrested. I was trying to make that. I was trying to get to there, but we never got there. I mean, they were just intent on throwing cuffs on me and bringing me downtown. So, so that's what happened. But now they've called and canceled everything. So that's one small victory for man. Let's keep this thing going.